Hey, good morning, or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this thing. Good sometime. So this week, you know how I like to take these stories that we don't really find a lot of, or people are afraid to talk about. And I wanted to do this one because this one's particularly well. It's at one point it's hilarious, another point it's kind of sad, but it's the story of Jesus cleansing the temple. But I wanted to give some background first, so you understand. He just didn't go off, because they put too much cream in his coffee or something. It wasn't like that, or so the basically the temple. This was the Passover time, so you have people coming from all over the Jewish world, all over the Middle East, Jews who were far out and Jews that were close. In fact, anyone that lived within, I think it's 10 miles of Jerusalem, had to come by law to the Passover at the temple, to the temple for Passover, and do their religious stuff. And other people, though, came just out of a sense of pilgrimage to come around Passover time. So you had a lot of people there. And there was also Gentiles who were not Jewish. There was actually a small section of the temple just for them. And so they had to come and give their sacrifices and things at the temple, And what I find fascinating about this story is when Jesus gets there, what happens when he sees what's really going on. So he decides to come to the temple, and he sees what's going on, and immediately becomes angry, like really angry. Angry enough, so angry, that he actually can't find a whip fast enough, so he makes his own whip out of strips of leather. I mean, he makes a whip. That tells you how angry he is. It's like someone wanting to shoot someone and they make a gun on the spot and shoot them. That's kind of like gives us an idea of where Jesus' mind is at this point. And so he comes to the temple, and he comes to the temple and he makes a whip, and he starts pushing people around. Now I can only imagine being at the temple at this time, in line, waiting to buy my doves or sheep or whatever, being in line, and all of a sudden the commotion's raised up somewhere in the temple. People are running and screaming, and you hear the sound of money spilled all over the ground, tables being kicked up, oxen and stuff running past you and through the line, and you probably got confused what's going on. And then there's that sweet, sweet Jesus with a whip. Yeah, he's over there with a whip, and he's whipping the animals and pushing people out of the way and yelling, and it's just a complete something you didn't think you would ever see at the temple. He's cleansing the temple. It's just not, and it was probably not very pretty at the time. So anyways, he makes this whip, and he starts to whip them, and at first you're like, what's so big? What's the big deal, Jesus? What are you doing this for? Well, we're just at the temple doing a thing. But let me give you a little bit of background. So at the temple, you couldn't use outside animals for your well, you didn't use them because they would always be counted as blemished by the workers at the temple. So if you brought even your most perfect lamb or whatever it was to sacrifice, they would find some blemish with it, and therefore you'd have to buy one of theirs. And usually, if you bought one of theirs, it was way more expensive at the temple to buy one of their lambs than it would be to bring one of your own unblemished lambs in. And they would just simply take your unblemished lamb and add it to their pool and sell it to the next sucker, basically, is what we have going on at the temple. The other aspect of this going on at the temple, not only are these people forced to come here for their religious needs by law, anyone in the 10 square miles, but also you have to use only temple money. So they had their own coinage. So when you would come with your silver from Greece or Rome or gold or whatever, it wasn't allowed in the temple because it was unclean according to the Jews. So you'd have to exchange your money for their money, their temple coinage. So they had money changers there to do that very purpose. Now, normally, what they were doing with this is what angered Jesus so much was you would go to exchange your money for your shekels for temple money, and the guy would charge you to do the exchange. So he would charge you so much to change it into temple money, and if you gave him like 5 shekels and the charge was like 2 shekels and you needed change back, they charged you for every half shekel they gave you change back. So they were making a lot of money and ripping people off in all kinds of ways. In other words, the temple was completely corrupt. The whole situation was completely prohibitive for anyone that wanted to go to the temple and meet with God or pray to God or anything. Plus, there were these different courts in the temple. Giving you some background before we go back to the story real quick. There were these courts in the temple. They had the Gentile court where only the Gentiles could go. They couldn't go any further into the temple to pray. So if you can imagine the picture, you have all of these bleating animals and noise and people bargaining and bartering, and you're trying to pray, right? And this is the only place you can come to pray, is in this court of the temple. It's called the Gentile court. They had the women's court. They had all these different sections of the temple before you get into the main section where the sacrifices take place and everything. So you know, for prayer. And so anyways, Jesus is looking around at all this going, these people who are Gentiles, they don't even believe, they're not real true believers or anything. They have no opportunity to approach God and talk to God because of all the noise that you guys have made here, basically. That's what's happening. So anyways, so you have all this corruption going on, and then you have, in the middle of it, walks Jesus and his disciples, and he becomes enraged. I mean, furious. It's no longer, pat the little kid on the head, Jesus, or, look at this beautiful little bird on my hand, Jesus. It's not that Jesus now. It's now the Jesus of gonna whip you. I'm gonna whip you. That's what it is. I'm going to whip all of you, and I'm gonna knock everything over. If you were at my court, where I work, and you created this, you'd have at least a couple charges against you. You would have disorderly conduct in the court, and you would have assault and battery. But he doesn't get any of these charges. Jesus, assault and battery, disorderly conduct, whipping people. That's the image we have here, and I think it's hilarious in that respect. So he cleanses the temple, and we have an idea here of anger, right? How we deal with things and how we get angry. Like, you have righteous anger, righteous indignation, which is the anger we see Jesus pulling out here. He's righteously angry for a righteous cause because there is corruption in the house of God, preventing people from praying and worshiping and ripping people off because it had to be there. And so it brings me to mind, and the other thing that I was thinking about all this is the other aspect of anger, right? Some of us get angry because there's too much traffic, or we get angry because people are driving like idiots. Happens all the time. We all know it. We drive like idiots sometimes, but then we get angry when someone else does. We have that kind of anger, which is kind of frivolous, kind of petty anger. I'm mad because someone didn't put enough milk in my coffee, or I'm mad because I got a taco at Taco Bell and it was broken up and I couldn't even eat it like a taco. That actually happened to me once in California. I'm kind of ashamed of that. I went into this Taco Bell and I ordered a couple tacos when I was dating Char. Char's my wife. And I went to order these tacos. I got these tacos. I sat down. I opened the thing up and I went to grab it and it was already broke. So basically I had a taco salad. I didn't have a taco. This made me very angry. So I got up, I wrapped it up, and I went up to the counter. I said, I want a taco. I want this taco replaced. I can't eat it like a taco. And literally the woman behind the counter gave me the oddest look. Like, you're kidding, right? Like, that's, really? You want me to replace that? And later, Char brings it up all the time. She's like, what's the big deal? She's right. They were only like 59 cents. Could have just bought another one and then, ate the taco salad and a taco and had a complete meal. I didn't. I got angry. And we're not talking about that kind of anger. Jesus rarely exhibited or never exhibited that kind of anger over petty crap like that. He didn't exhibit that anger. This anger we see here when he makes a whip, begins to whip people and knock tables over and makes a mess of the temple. This is what's known as righteous anger over a righteous cause. Not just any cause, but a righteous cause where God is being withheld from people because of all this rip-off and this corruption of the temple. That's what we have. So next time when you get angry about something, just think about Jesus whipping people. Just think about Jesus pulling his whip out and making a whip and just whipping people and going, is this a whippable offense? Should I make a whip and whip this dude because he cut me off? Probably not. Next time you're at the restaurant and your steak isn't cooked the way you should want it to be cooked, is this a whippable offense? Should I whip this waitress? Probably not. I don't think so. Next time you're in line at Starbucks and a dude's ordering like 15 ridiculously sounding lattes with all kinds of weird concoctions in them, and you're thinking, I got to get to work, and you're 3 people back, is this a whippable offense? That might be, actually. That one might be a whippable offense. Dude, don't do that in the middle of rush hour at a Starbucks, because those places are busy anyways. But you see what I'm saying, right? We have a Jesus here who reserves his anger for the righteous causes and withholds his anger for frivolous, petty causes. And right now, as I watch YouTube and I watch all the stuff going on in the world, What I see is a lot of petty anger, a lot of wasted anger on things that no one should get angry about. Yeah, I'm preaching right now. Yeah, you might be one of those guys who get angry about that stuff. And you know what? If I offended you, I'm not sorry. But yeah, just the idea of Jesus whipping someone is delightful. I think it's just delightful because we've been taught our whole lives be nice and sweet and kind and everything, which is true. But there are times when it's time to make a whip and start whipping MFs. Just start whipping people. It's just that time comes. So, anyways, file this story away. Actually, let me tell you what the story is, real quick. I'll actually read the story to you. It's in John, John 2, verse 13 through 17, and it's aptly, titled "Jesus cleanses the temple" or "Christ cleanses the temple." Now, the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. And he found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves and the money changers doing business. Those are the money changers and stuff I was telling you about. Doing business, ripping people off, corrupt. When he had made a whip of cords, things about to get real. It's about to get real. Jesus is about to get down to business. He's going to cut some wire and whip some people. When he had made a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple with the sheep and the oxen and poured out the money changers' money and overturned the tables. And he said to those who sold doves, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise." Then his disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house has eaten me up." And that's from Psalm 69:9. It's actually a prophecy. The disciples, looking back on the story, said, "Wow, this is a prophecy that is fulfilled. This proves that Jesus is who he said he is." Anyways, there's the story. And you should want to do some more research into that story. It's in each gospel. And there's a different witness viewpoint in each gospel of what happened. But this, I think, is my favorite because it's the only one that mentions that Jesus actually made a whip on the spot and whipped people. Jesus, please don't whip me. That's all I got to say. Huh? Oh, yeah, comments. Don't forget to put comments down here and questions. If you disagree with me, put it in there. If you agree with me, okay. But really, the discussion is important on these things. So, and when you look at this, put in your own examples of times when you were angry and you're like, was it a whippable thing? Put those in there. I'm really interested, actually, curious to see those kind of things, because it kind of, tells us about how people are out there right now, how short-fused everybody is, and willing to, cut a person because they didn't, cook their steak right. Anyways, wherever this video pops up, comment, begin the discussion on it, because this, I think, is a real relevant topic right now in our culture with all the, like I said, everyone just getting emotional and dramatic over things. So yeah, if you see this pop up on Facebook, on someone's Facebook feed or anywhere else, begin the conversation. And that's what this whole thing's about. So begin that conversation, and don't forget to like and all that other stuff. Oh well. See you guys later. Please don't whip me, Jesus.